Before we go on, naturally there's no way to decide who actually has had the best WWE title run ever. Your criteria will differ vastly from mine, and mine will differ from your nan's. We're all different people, and what sparks something in our brain is going to be influenced by many attributes. However, if we are going to try and formulate such a list, we need some sort of rules, which is why match quality, in-ring influence and drawing power are going to be the primary considerations here. And yes, that means some notable names won't appear, but that's when you can make your own top 10 list to counter this one, and we can all have a fight. That's how the internet works, right? I'm Simon from What Culture, and this is the 10 best WWE title runs ever. Number 10, Bruno Sammartino. Holding the title from May 17th, 1963 to January 18th, 1971, which is absurd, few people can actually say to have seen Bruno's run given the fact there isn't much out there to see. He doesn't feature heavily on the network, and during the then WWF, there wasn't much when it came to tape trading. From what we know though, Bruno did wrestle a style that would probably bore a modern audience to tears, but he deserves all the respect in the world for the sheer amount of fans he drew into a building. Just go and read some of the accounts when he eventually lost the belt to Ivan Koloff to get an idea of how beloved this man was. A consistent and huge star, Bruno's legend is so big that it actually stands above the usual tent poles you need in order to keep a legacy alive. Even word of mouth is enough to get an idea of his power, that's why he's here. Number 9, Randy Savage. Taking place from March 27th, 1988 to April 2nd, 1989, it's fair to say that for most of his run, the Macho Man was in the shadow of Hulk Hogan, as wrong as that may have been. Savage was no supporting player mind, and had a massive following all of his own and the skill to back it up. Not many wrestlers would have been allowed to have a run with the belt if the company hadn't have trusted that person to do business when popularity was at an all-time high. Macho Man was a megastar. While there weren't many standout single matches that we could point to during his reign, it is when Savage told one of the best stories in pro wrestling history as he slowly went crazy and paranoid as his distrust for Hogan grew and grew. He was so good in the role that he managed to turn pretty much an entire fan base against him and finished it off with a barn burner against the Hulkster at WrestleMania 5. In many ways, the Macho Man was a better all-round performer than his biggest ever opponent, and more than deserving of his place on this list. Number 8, Bret Hart. Starting March 20th, 1994 and rolling through to November 23rd of the same year, Bret Hart captured the title at WrestleMania 10 in a victory that was more than what we were seeing on screen. It was proof that the Lex Luger experiment had failed and that the Hitman was the right guy to step into these shoes. It was correct too, because from here, Hart went on to have arguably Diesel's best match at the King of the Ring 94, and that classic against the 1-2-3 Kid on Raw is still talked about today. It was drowning in athleticism and storytelling and signaled a new direction for the company. Throughout this period, Bret also tore out with Brother Owen at SummerSlam 94, and the real recurring theme for all this was the drama and emotion he brought to everything. Bret made you believe in what he did, which in turn gave more credence to the title. Underrated in terms of a draw as he was huge overseas, Hart also managed to keep the butts in seats domestically even if he didn't grow them by too much. Can't mock his reign though, he was great from start to finish. Number 7, Shawn Michaels. From March 31st, 96 to November 96, Shawn Michaels was your WWE champion. Fortunately for HBK, it wasn't the best in the sense he was outdrawn by a super hot WCW, a fact that some say wound Shawn up no end. On a professional level, however, the match quality element I mentioned in the intro is almost unmatched. Though the Iron Man contest divides people right down the middle, the innovative and influential body of work that followed was both quality and consistent. He defeated Diesel in an awesome David vs Goliath story, far more dynamic than usual, and took on the British Bulldog in a wonderful bout at the brilliant King of the Ring 96. An absolute brawl with Vader followed at SummerSlam 96 before he went all nuts with Mankind at In Your House Mind Games. This was all capped off by carrying Sid to his greatest ever match, even if Michael was booed by the MSG crowd, something he most definitely didn't enjoy. Number 6, Brock Lesnar. August 17th, 2014 to March 29th, 2015 was a beast of a run for Brock Lesnar, and yes, that's a pun. Aren't I hilarious? His first reign since coming back to the company, he took the WWE's top prize and made it feel legit simply because he felt legit. The association was enough, but Brock pushed this further with some truly excellent performances that must be among his career's best. Winning it from John Cena in that awesome squash match at SummerSlam 2014, it may have peaked at the following year's Royal Rumble where Brock rose from the announce table wreckage like a sea monster to deliver a German suplex to Seth Rollins with the speed of a puma. Lesnar during that triple threat match, which many say was WWE's best ever, looked like he was superhuman. Next up was beating Roman Reigns up hard at WrestleMania 31, and this fight was so harsh that even the Roman hate squad must have shuddered a bit. It looked like he was getting his head kicked in, mostly because he was getting his head kicked in. Because of all this, the WWE title was once again something to desire rather than just a prop, and that was all down to Brock Lesnar. Number 5, Triple H. A short reign as it only went from January 3rd, 2000 to April 30th, 2000. What Triple H did between those 4 months remains epic in achievement, if not length. The game entered 2000 as a headliner, but not one with any momentum. That he was entrusted to leave WrestleMania as the first heel to retain the WWE Championship underscores how successful he'd been, even if backstage politics may have tied into that as well. Of course, we can't mention this without saying the name of Mick Foley, who helped Triple H make a transition from which there was no looking back. At the Royal Rumble and No Way Out, Foley as Cactus Jack selflessly portrayed Chips as an absolute warrior over the course of 2 classics, in which Triple H came out the other side feeling more than credible of his spot. A critical smash mostly too, H's vicious heel character and title run was objectively over. An eye-watering 675,000 fans paid to watch his singles titles loss to The Rock in what was an astonishing number for so-called B pay-per-view backlash. Number 4, CM Punk. The fact that CM Punk held the WWE title from November 20th, 2011 to January 27th, 2013 is still astonishing when you think about it. Holding on to the gold for 434 days is a number that most fans remember because they loved every second of it. First capturing the title at Survivor Series 2012 in what was Alberto Del Rio's best singles match in WWE, Punk went on to defend the title against both Del Rio and The Miz in a great bout at TLC. During this period too, Punk performed and wrestled as the biggest star in the company and outdrew the subsequent year's CENA-driven buy rate to boot. Punk and Chris Jericho made up for a somewhat disappointing WrestleMania 28 showing in a violent and believable Chicago Street Fight Extreme Rules before an absolutely superb program with Daniel Bryan elevated the standard of your usual WWE heavyweight title spat. A rare run in which the belt changed the man who wore it. Punk's growing desperation to retain it made him an awesome heel, and a feud with Ryback was the last pre-network pay-per-view to truly spike a buy rate. Very lengthy but always interesting and fresh, Punk not only generated great wrestling matches but did business and evolved his character as time went on as well. That ticks a lot of boxes. Number 3, John Cena. There's loads of these obviously, but when John Cena was the WWE champ from September 17, 2006 to October 2, 2007, which yes is very long, he did alright. Taught a lesson by Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 23, Cena seemed to learn from that a few weeks later when he went toe-to-toe with HBK again in London in a match people still talk about. Prior to that, Cena also sold wonderfully for Umaga at the 2007 Royal Rumble in a brutal and realistic surprise, and even showed he could lead the show too at One Night Stand and the Great American Bash, where he took on the likes of the Great Khali and Bobby Lashley. Thanks to Cena, these were far better than they should have been. Becoming very consistent, Cena drew well throughout an era that would define his character and the product in the post-network era. Operating excellently in singles and multi-man action, this run was forged by a humble in-ring performer who worked damn hard to earn these plaudits. Number 2, Stone Cold Steve Austin. From March 29th, 1998 to September 27th, 1998, and I know he lost it for a day in between this in June, but screw that, don't want to talk about it. Stone Cold Steve Austin took the WWE with a scruff of its neck and dragged it to greatness. When he first made his mark as a star at WrestleMania 13 a year prior, it drew a scant 237,000 buys, but come WrestleMania 14, and like promoters when Stone Cold had become the man, it drew the biggest buy rate of the decade up to that point. 730,000. Austin at his peak was a draw matching and then soon exceeding even Hulk Hogan, whom for a brief time he even usurped as the most popular star in the history of the post-expansion era. Austin's work was unmissable throughout a very busy 98 and 99, during which time the legit star made Monday Night Raw must-see TV as he went toe-to-toe with Vince McMahon. In terms of actual wrestling too, Austin dwarfed Hogan, rewriting the in-ring narrative in a hugely exciting and influential title defense opposite Dude Love at Over the Edge 98. Funny, violent, dramatic, this distilled and perfected the new style of sports entertainment. Is Stone Cold Steve Austin one of, if not the best ever? Absolutely. Hard to argue otherwise. Number 1, Hulk Hogan. The reign with which Vince McMahon monopolized the pro wrestling industry, Hulk Hogan's January 23rd, 1984 to February 5th, 1988 run turned him into a larger-than-life figure who infiltrated the mainstream. He was so huge, even the mid-card loved working on the same circuit as Hogan, knowing that he would make more money for all of them. That's a draw. Though Hogan wrestled his best 2 matches during his second run with the gold, great bouts were not part of his appeal. Truth be told, no one really cared about that because Hogan was able to make the world buy into what he was selling. After all, how else did we all think he was the underdog when the man himself was a giant? He knew how to work the audience. Even viewed through the lens of 2018, Hogan's mid-80s shtick remains amazing. His WrestleMania 3 match with Andre the Giant, for example, is not that good, but that one body slam changed everything because Hogan was always in control. Longevity, memorable matches, and massive drawing power. There's a reason Hulk Hogan is synonymous with pro wrestling, and it's because both he and the business took a huge step forward during this time. To ignore that would be ridiculous.
Oh, wasn't that something? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe below, and also the people who made this lovely video, they're appearing right here. But if you're thinking to yourself, I want to see more content, Jules, then why not look above my head, as there probably is some. I don't know. I can't see it. Until next time.